Welcome to This Must Be the Place. I'm your host, Alo Galinsky. Each week, I'll uncover what's happening in Sonoma County, diving into the hidden gems and quirky corners. I'll be interviewing some of our local legends, as well as people you didn't know you need to know, all through the eyes of a craft beer enthusiast living in wine country. Join me as we explore one sip, one story, and one adventure at a time, and together we'll find out why this must be the place. Today, we are chatting with Jahari Stampley, considered one of the most decorated jazz musicians of his generation. He is the winner of the 2023 Herbie Hancock Institute International Competition, a 2024 Grammy nominee, and most recently, the recipient of the 2025 ASCAP Herb Alpert Composers Award. From touring with legends like Stanley Clarke to hitting #1 on the iTunes charts with his debut album Still Listening, Jahari has seamlessly moved from the jazz club to the silver screen and even the Chicago Symphony Orchestra. Whether he is performing at Carnegie Hall, appearing in the feature film Spinning Gold, or celebrating his latest 2025 album What a Time, Jahari continues to redefine the boundaries of modern jazz. The Jahari Stampley Family Trio will be performing in Healdsburg at the Winter Jazz Festival on Friday, January 30th at 7 p.m. Welcome, Jahari.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor to be.
We're really excited to dig into your storied career and hear about kind of what makes you tick and what makes you live as a musician, and get to hear more about your show coming up in just a few weeks here. But I want to start off by asking you, what was the spark or moment you realized when you were musical?
As a child, my parents would play music, and I think before I even was actually literally playing music, I used to dance, and I used to just love to bop my head to the music. And I think a lot of people are really musical. Maybe they don't never tried an instrument, but if you just feel a deep connection and emotional connection to music, then I would say that's kind of something I've always felt. So I think a lot of people probably have that.
Was there a first musical instrument that you picked up or were inspired to try?
Yeah, so the first instrument I picked up was the drums at age 7, and I started the piano at age 14.
When did you know you could build a career around piano?
Well, I didn't know initially. I just, honestly, like I love practicing. In a way, piano was like therapy for me, just sitting and peacefully discovering things on the piano and listening to music. Just kind of those moments I think are so personal, when you spend so many hours just sitting at the piano. I mean, in a way, it's a little bit like you kind of have a connection to what you're doing and how it feels and how it makes you feel, I guess, if that makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense. I myself come from a musical background. I studied opera in college, and so I have a lot of vocal background training. And again, that connection with your instrument, whether it be piano, drums, guitar, or your voice, is really kind of fun to discover.
Exactly. Yeah. 100%.
And you come from a musical family. I mean, your trio is the Jahari Stampley Family Trio. So did becoming a musician feel like a foregone conclusion, or was it something else that really drove you towards pursuing a career in this?
Well, my mother, she's very accomplished, Grammy-nominated in 7 categories, and she's always played multiple instruments. She plays the bass, the saxophone, the keyboard, and she's always been around so much and so many things musically. And so I think it was a normal part of my life, is witnessing that. And I think that really kind of shifted my perspective even from an early age. By the time I started, I was like, this is something I really want to do. Also because my mother does it so well and it's so natural to her. So I think she's definitely a big part of why I went down the path of music.
So you didn't begin playing piano until age 14. Now, looking back from the vantage point of 2026, the new year we're in, how do you think that kind of later start shaped your approach to the instrument compared to maybe those who started as toddlers or children learning that instrument?
I think when I started later, I was, in a way, I had a different relationship with the way I felt about practicing and the piano. Meaning, like, I think a lot of people that start really early, sometimes their parents or the teachers might force them into it, and they may develop a bitter feeling towards the instrument itself or practicing It's kind of like just something that I chose. And I think by the time I was 14, I really had a will of my own, if that makes sense. Whereas
Yeah.
if you start the piano at the age of 2 and your parents are forcing you to take lessons from the age of 2 and onward, and it's like you're not guided by your own will to like actually play. You're more so feeling the pressure of your parents or whatever is in your environment to try to improve. In my case, I think because I started later, I didn't have that pressure. I just had my own curiosity, my own want to do this. And when I had started practicing, there was no one over my shoulder telling me to like get up and practice every day, or it was just my own like love and curiosity and just like want to do it. And I think I'm grateful that I had the space to pursue something, whether, I'm sure everyone here has something they love and maybe they wish they could choose to do the thing that they love. And I feel grateful. I know that's not a normal thing to be able to do what you always love to do, or to have the opportunity to do that. So that's why I would say I think it's better that I started later, actually.
Yeah, no, as you mentioned, I mean, as we're 14, 16-year-olds, we're starting to figure out those things that we actually want to do, not things that we're signed up for, and
Yeah.
really deciding whether it is something we want to invest our time in. And that's really important as we're discovering ourselves.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Now, how or what got you first interested in jazz? Because I know, music, it's based on a lot of theory and classical roots, but was there something in particular that got you interested in jazz apart from maybe your family background and their involvement in music?
Yes, I think what got me interested in jazz was when I redefined what jazz meant in my mind. Meaning, I think the essence of jazz is more about exploration and musical ideas. And I think jazz, in a way, has foundationally influenced everything that we hear today, like even pop music, R&B, gospel. I mean, jazz in itself is kind of a foundational music. So I feel like when I started to connect the dots, that the genre itself is much broader than what my mind kind of defined it as at the time. And I always was someone who loved to explore sounds, and even if I liked the song, I would like to play a song and see how many different variations I could play that same song. Even if it's a pop song or something simple like that I love on the radio, I used to just try to see what kind of alterations could I do, or how many things could I change to still make it feel like the song, but like in a different kind of variation of that. And I think that's where my curiosity for jazz, the essence of jazz, really started. It wasn't even me thinking about jazz as much as me thinking about exploration and freedom, which is what jazz really represents, I think.
Especially with all that improvisation in there.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
Yeah.
something because I started growing up playing clarinet, and I took clarinet lessons for 5, 6 years from I think 9 to 14 or so. And you showed off with the classical stuff, maybe some poppy stuff, movie theme songs, whatnot, the fun stuff. But I really found my way into loving jazz and swing standards because that was a different form of clarinet that wasn't, classical pieces and kind of rigid composition. It was this thing that allowed for a little bit more improvisation. And I loved chromatic scales and kind of that nuance between jazz and swing and big band sound. So it's fun to realize what shapes your musical influence and what shapes your kind of likes in the music world.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
So for our listeners out there who might be unfamiliar with your music, can you give us a little snapshot of your sound, whether what it sounds like, what you like to put out there?
Yes, so my new project, What a Time, just released in September of last year. And I'm so fortunate I was able to get so many of my favorite artists, collaborators, vocalists that I love, like India Carney, incredible vocalist. She was featured on The Voice. And we have Keon Harold on trumpet. He's commonly playing trumpet with Common and Layla Hathaway and many, you know, incredible artists. And then Derek Hodge, who's on the album as well, and he's doing film composing, and he's conducting orchestras now for, like, you know, the biggest productions. Snoop Dogg, Adam Blackstone, like he was just featured on television at the Super Bowl. Then this is, you know, Derek Hodge is just having him playing on the album. You've got my mother playing on the album. My favorite drummers in the world, the drummer that just won the modern drummer, jazz drummer of the year, top drummer of the year, Mike Mitchell, was on the album as well. It's just
Very
crazy.
cool.
These people are part of the project. So What a Time is just a collection of so many influences, just so much music that I love, so many different things that I love. There's solo piano, but then there's also influence from pop and rock and influence from gospel. There's so much kind of fusion of blend of genres. There's Pat Metheny inspired. There's Keith Jarrett. There's just everything I love. Herbie Hancock, all in one. I just kind of wanted to encompass a snapshot of where I am today, and that's why I named it "What a Time." You know, it's kind of me right now experiencing this moment, and just grateful for everything that I have been able to experience in this time, and wanting to continue on that path. So I'm working on the next album now, and that'll be coming.
Always keeping busy.
Yes.
Well, I can't wait to dig into What a Time myself. It sounds like a fantastic project and a lot of cool collaboration on there.
Yeah, I'm so grateful, you know, so grateful.
Now, as a Chicago native, does the legacy of Chicago's rich musical heritage influence your work, and how so?
I would say absolutely. I mean, Chicago, since I was coming up, you know, the musicians on the scene, you know, I can name Tony Kazo, it's incredible pianist and organist, and Robert Irving and Tony Kazo are cousins. Robert Irving is one of the pianists that toured with Miles Davis, you know, and he was one of my first people that I got lessons. Him and Tony Kazo. Tony Kazo is big on the scene in Chicago, and then you've got incredible guitarist Isaiah Sharkey, born and raised in Chicago. He used to come over to my house all the time, rehearse with my mother, playing in my mom's band. You've got Sheree Reed, incredible bassist. Just so many names. Obviously, Ramsey Lewis, Herbie Hancock, obviously, you know, just these legendary artists that have come from the city of Chicago. So the legacy is very, very rich. And speaking of which, even in April 30th, International Jazz Day, Herbie Hancock is coming back to Chicago. I'll be at the International Jazz Day as well, Herbie as well. So it'd be really cool.
What a time, right?
What a time. It's crazy.
I'm sure we could say that lots of things we'll be talking about in the next little while here.
Oh, yeah. Yes, so crazy.
Now, a little bit about the creative process. You know, you're constantly composing, innovating, coming up with these ideas, but I'm sure sometimes you hit a creative wall. Is there a specific ritual or environmental change you use to rediscover your inspiration?
Wow. Well, you know, I think I am fortunate just to have so many amazing friends that are creative and musically who I look up to and that I love. You know, there's so many new artists today. I can name countless amounts. I mean, obviously the people are part of the festival, even Joel Ross, incredible Chicago native. And you've got, you know, other artists all around. Emmanuel Wilkins is doing incredible things. You've got a lot of young artists. Cisco Swank, he's another person. He's doing some things. You may not know these names, but these are just people in my circle, just people I went to Manhattan School of Music, Juilliard, people that I've played with over time. And I think being in that environment and just having access to those minds and those people and just listening to what they're doing, it's kind of hard for me not to feel constantly inspired. And the new age of social media, there's just so much media, there's so much to absorb that I never feel like I'm lacking. I always feel like there's so much more to discover, you know. So in terms of keeping my creative process going, I think I've just always been so curious. I'm kind of like me and Herbie actually talked about this in an interview that I put out on my YouTube channel, and
Not many people can say that.
well, it's crazy. He was saying he's like a nerd kind of, and I'm like that too. Like we're very curious and we like things. I mean, I made, you know, like I like technology and things outside of just music too. You know, just like I like discovering. I like reading about things, learning things. I like building things. I don't know. I love figuring things out and stuff. So I think I kind of see myself in Herbie in some ways, just in our sense of curiosity. And talking with him was so special, man, because he's still learning today, he says. But he's so curious even now. And I think I would be the same way.
You perform a lot of shows. Do you have any pre-show rituals to manage performance anxiety or get in the zone before hitting the stage? Is there something? Is there a meal? Is there a drink? Is there a mantra that Jahari Stampley has to get in the zone before you get on stage?
Well, yeah, I guess it depends on the context. You know, I had this one experience touring that really changed my anxiety. I was opening for a band called Krongben. They're very big in the Europe, I believe, or in the US as well. But every day for about 2 months, we were on a tour bus and we would be performing in front of thousands of people every show, opening for them. And it'll be like you perform, you get off the stage, you go on the bus, 12 hours later, you're in the next city, and then you get out, you roll out of bed on the bus, and you go right back on stage and more of thousands of people. And I feel like that whole experience changed the way I felt about performing in front of a lot of people. Like it almost was perfect for my experience and kind of easing my anxiety. Just because I think doing it night after night after night, just kind of starting to feel like a connection to what the music really is rather than let the crowd kind of get to you. It was an interesting experience, and I think even to this day, it's really changed me. So nowadays, I don't really feel as anxious per se. I think a lot of times when I'm performing, the thing that's on my mind is just the music. And if I am anxious, it probably has to do with maybe I feel uncomfortable with the music more than anything. So yeah, that's what I would say. Like when we're playing new music that I haven't played before, then I'm like, okay, well, maybe this is making me a little nervous, but I still like that feeling at the same time. You know, it's nice to feel a little on edge.
Yeah, I mean, you got to keep yourself, kind of in the moment. And as with life, jazz is about improvisation. And whether you're purposely improvising or maybe needing to figure out a way to right a wrong or write a cadence or a note that goes off script, so to speak, in the performance, is there a story you have from a performance where something did completely go off script and then how you handled it in that moment?
Oh yeah, all the time. You know, me and my mother, you know, we've been using different instruments on our show. You know, we have uses of, you know, I use my laptop for different sound design, and we kind of trade sounds. I have organ pedals by the piano that I hook up, MIDI organ pedals I hook to my laptop to trigger bass as I'm playing chords on the piano for her to, you know, take a saxophone solo. There's been times where my computer malfunctions and the sounds don't trigger, and the sounds that I meant to play are not really coming out, or maybe her sounds on her keyboard synth may not be loading the patch or something goes wrong. And so that's definitely happened several times. And in the moment, I think it's just kind of reacting to the moment, kind of like in real life, where if something happens, you're just finding your way through it in the best way that you can. But the more that you experience it, the more that you unconsciously grow a skill,
Right.
of just kind of shifting through, maneuvering through different changes suddenly. And I think we've gotten to a point now where, you know, no matter what happens, like we can still make a beautiful moment without it being a train wreck, I think.
I think it goes back to that old saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And, if you can live through some of those moments on stage or just off the curtain where something doesn't fully kill you, you go through a few of those and it makes you stronger. It teaches you how to navigate those moments a little bit better.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So, how do you balance the commercial expectation of the industry? Jazz is such a huge industry with your own artistic integrity.
Wow, it's a great question. I would say ultimately it's just about being honest. And I was talking to Robert Glasper about this actually, like a few days ago. We have an interview coming out on YouTube, and a big thing that we talked about is how a lot of people that we look up to in history and music history specifically, they were in there now, meaning they weren't so stuck on their past, and maybe they weren't accepted during the time that they were alive. When you think of Thelonious Monk or certain artists that people hated at the time that they were alive. But as we now know, people now, we look back at these artists and we love their art and what they've done. And I think the true essence of being honest with what you like as an artist and sticking to your voice, even if it's not for everyone. I think the truth is, like, you can't please everyone. Like, for me, as a pianist, that if I write music and using the piano and I'm trying to appeal to someone that hates the sound of the piano, then I'm already at a disadvantage. Some people, maybe they just like country guitar and that's their favorite. They don't want anything else. They don't want to hear any chords on the piano. They don't want to hear the piano. That's very much valid. And I think that's the whole point, is that we're not supposed to be for everyone and we're not supposed to like the same things. Otherwise, that would be kind of bland, I think.
Sure.
I think being honest with what you like and being honest with how you feel about what you're creating more than anything is, I think, what's most important for me, at least at this point. I would just hope that it resonates with someone.
Well, that's some really good insight right there. And it sounds like you have a good handle on how you manage your expectations as well. Now, you've released 2 albums and you said you're working on a third. You want to let our listeners into a little bit of the behind the scenes process to create and cut an album. And were there any surprises when you go about this process, even now 2, 3 times in?
I think the biggest surprises that come with these kind of things, typically for me, it's like when you're collaborating with another artist, sometimes there's a certain unspoken thing where you may not have ever met this person in person, and you may not have really played with that person, and it's a little bit risky. It's like you're opening up this door that it's like anything. It's like going on a first date. It's like maybe you've interacted with someone and you don't really know who they are, how it's going to go, even with your limited context of them. So I would say some of the songs, collaborating with India Carney, putting that whole thing together was unexpected because she just had so many ideas that I didn't even expect. And it almost shaped the direction of the song in a different way. And with different minds and different opinions and different things, you start to change, or it shapes the way things come out at the end. And so I was really grateful to have work with people that just have their own creative ideas. In a way, they really give me ideas. And I think that's what it's really all about. It's just collectively combining ourselves and our minds to create something beautiful.
That's really important. Yeah, that sounds cool. Now, another question for you here with your album just out. Are there qualities you look for in musical collaborators? And what has been your most surprising takeaway from working with other artists, as you've worked with so many different artists on this album?
I think one of the biggest qualities, honestly speaking, is reliability, which, I mean, obviously you want the most talented person you can have, and those things are very important as well. But I think the biggest thing is having someone that will reply and actually, get back to you, to send over things. And, is actually rare. And I'm fortunate that I was able to have that luxury of working with people that really were open and wanting to collaborate just as much. And so the most surprising takeaway, just how different everybody thinks of music. You would think like we're all in this industry and we all play music, sing music and create it, and we all have the same kind of understanding of it. But the truth is, like, everyone is so completely different in how they think about everything. And so collaborating with someone who's like you, but so unlike you at the same time, it's like almost insane. It's like, wow, you have a completely different theory of music altogether, even though the sound of it could literally be similar. It's just always fascinating to discover what someone else thinks.
Yeah.
And how they'd interpret their life and music, you know.
And speaking of these collaborators who might be like you and also unlike you, there's perhaps been no bigger collaborator than working with your own mom and performing with your own mom, a Grammy-nominated multi-instrumentalist in her own right. Now, you want to shed a little light on what it's like to collaborate and perform with her?
Like I said, she's always been a huge inspiration. She started at church playing piano and organ. My grandmother, which is her mother, also played in church, the organ and the piano. And so I think the lineage of the gospel tradition kind of ran through for her. She then switched to saxophone. She was listening to records like the Yellow Jackets and Wayne Shorter. You've got all kinds of people in that realm, the Kenny Garrett. She's kind of always been a very innovative individual. She just got her first pilot's license, so she can fly planes now.
Wow.
And she's just always been a curious mind and just teaching herself how to do anything. She will read a book and study for a year quietly, and then suddenly she's controlling drones and riding planes. I mean, literally now she has her drones pilot's license. This is as of a few months ago.
She is a multifaceted woman.
Very multifaceted, yeah. And I think that's where I get it from too. And just wanting to try things and being very open to things that I think are objectively intimidating. Like, I mean, the thought of flying a plane, it seems like it would be intimidating. But when you're around someone like her all your life, it's like, wow, you know, maybe I could do that. Or
yeah, sounds inspiring. Now I have to ask: is there a Stampley family drone jazz show collaboration coming anywhere soon?
Well, you know what? That's a great question, and I think I need to bring that up to her because
the power of drones set to jazz music played by your trio sounds like it could be a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, I think you're actually onto something.
You heard it here first on This Must Be the Place. Then
we heard it here first, guys.
What a time!
What a time! What a time!
Now, here's a big question for you, Jahari, about success. How do you personally define success? And has it changed since you first started in the industry? Because things evolve over time and people's attitudes and opinions change. But how does your definition of success work for you? And has it changed at all?
I would say success for me, it's not about like monetary value. Or I think for me, more than anything, success is about accepting your now and appreciating the little things in your life, like the people that are real in my life, like the people that I love.
Sure.
I think for me, I never really did music for the sake of necessarily like fame or just having lots of money, really, or just, I think I did music because I loved music and the emotional and the connection that I deeply had with it. And obviously that is something that is really, really personal and special to me. And I think a lot of people have that connection to something that they love. And whether it's your favorite hobby, or some people are so passionate about sports or whatever it may be. I think for me, I just always felt grateful to have the opportunity to pursue an art that I love. more than anything, I'll always be grateful for that. I'm happy with that. So
Well, for somebody who's 26 years old, you have such a wealth of introspection and great insight there. And I think that's a really great way to define success based on, who's around you and the relationships you have and as it pertains to music or life.
I think real people are rare, and sometimes they're right in your corner and you might not know until they're gone. So really cherish the people that are real in your life, I would say.
Well, that's some great advice right there. Is there any other advice you might give to some musicians just starting their journey, be them younger, older, what might you tell them as they're starting their journey out in the music world?
I would say everyone has their own path. It looks so much different for every person. And comparing yourself to someone else as a musician, I don't think it's always the healthiest thing. I think I would encourage anybody that's pursuing music to really contemplate to themselves whether they would love it without the attention of others, whether they would love it without any validation from anyone else. And I would have them contemplate whether it's something that they really feel passion towards or emotional connection towards, or is it, what are your motives for it in general, I would say. It could be for anything, but I think for me, I ask myself those questions like, do I do this because I want someone to validate me in this thing that I'm doing, or do I do it because I genuinely feel emotionally like I feel invested, I feel passionate about something that I love? Because if you're really doing this, I think it's a lifelong journey. There's never a point where you feel like you've learned everything. There's never a point where you feel like you've succeeded at the highest anything. I mean, if anything, you feel the opposite most of the time. So through those emotions and through those feelings, will you still love music, or will you love what could come from it?
That's a really great way to look at things. Now, while your mom may be off learning how to fly planes and fly drones, you're also multifaceted. You have an app, if I'm not mistaken, Piano Chronicles. So you're an app developer and a musician. This family is so talented. The more I study up on you, why don't you tell us about your app, Piano Chronicles, and how it came to be?
Yes, so I made a video game app called Piano Chronicles. You could call it like a Pokemon piano app.
Okay.
So essentially, you use the notes on the piano to fight the monsters. As you progress through the levels, you level up, you unlock new characters. And there's famous musicians who are some strong characters in the game. You have Robert Glasper as a character in the game. My little sister is one of the strongest characters in the game. My mother is very great. You've got Keon Harold in the game. You've got Jacob Collier, who's part of the game. Got all these really incredible characters as you continue to beat the levels, progress through. And my app is actually an extension of my newly released piano platform, essentially that I created with custom web code with my web developer. I've been working on this for 7 years, and I just launched it as in sync with my website. So it's about 400 video lessons of everything that I've ever learned. There's interactive elements on the site where you can play along with the lessons with your keyboard, plug it to your computer. You can talk with other people, add friends. So I built this whole platform on my website as an extension to the app, just for people who want to learn music or be curious in a community of other musicians. It's something that I've been really passionate about, is just sharing what I know to people that are curious. And I've never had the time to give lessons personally, so I always wanted to at least document these things and put it in a package or put it in a form that I could give away, so that if I do leave this earth one day, at least it will exist. So I finished this actually as of last week. It's almost out. It's going to be officially launched next week, but the coding and everything has been done. So
Keep your eyes out, everybody. That sounds like a really cool thing.
yes.
So as we wrap up here, I have some kind of fun, fast, personal questions for you, Jahari. Not too personal, but things about your music likes, your desires to meet people in the music world. One of them being, what is your current guilty pleasure song or genre that listeners might be surprised to find on your personal playlist?
I love Animals as Leaders, but I also love this rapper. It's a really goofy. His name is Jaleel, Jaleel. And what I like about his music, he's like a modern rapper, but he's incorporates, melodic kind of elements to the music it's cool to me. It's like, I like one of his songs specifically, Ride the Wave. It's interesting to me the way he utilizes the groove on the beat, the guitar, the chord changes are, pretty cool. And he's a really wild guy. He's like super buff dude, like muscly guy. And he's like running shirtless in Nigeria, like running on top of cars. And there's a bunch of Nigerian random people in the video just running with him on the street. It's just like the most bizarre things I've ever seen. But I like stuff like that because it's always interesting to see what exists outside of such a confined music that can be so conservative.
Sure.
So that's been my guilty pleasure artist, if I must say. Just very fascinating.
Now, if you could have a 1-hour jam session with any musician from history, who would it be and why?
Wow, from history?
From history, living, dead?
Wow. I'd want to say Prince. And along with Prince, I think I'd want to say Bach.
Prince and Bach.
Because
that would make for one interesting jam session. Absolutely. I don't know if you met them together or separately, but I'd be down to hear it.
Yes, I think if I'm covering all ranges, that seems about right. I mean, I'm sure anyone would want to know Bach. Like, how do you write this?
But here's the real question, Jahari. Would you let Bach take over the keys, or would you hold fast to the piano?
Oh yeah, I absolutely would love to observe Bach in person and just the structure of his mind. I don't know if you know like some of the stuff. I mean, his writing is so interesting, and he'll write something, and then if you reverse the sheet music backwards and play it that way, it fits in over all of the chord changes just the same. And then he'll combine the reverse sheet music and the other alternative reversed and put it together.
Like his fugues.
His fugues. That is like, wow. Incredible.
It's pretty neat.
Very neat.
Now, you've achieved so much at such a young age. What's been the most surprising accolade, relationship, or collaboration so far?
So I just released a new single with one of my favorite gospel singers. Her name is Faith Robinson. We released a song titled Beloved Forever. I arranged the strings for this song, and so we kind of got together in the studio. And that has been such a shocking release because so many people kind of, from that video being released, it went really viral, and just so many people in the gospel industry, like Ty Tribbett and Fred Hammond, Hezekiah Walker, just like there's so many people that I never knew that I could connect with, like Kirk Franklin and all of these really, really influential gospel artists came from that release. And that has been a really cool collaboration as of recent, I would say. Yeah.
Now, kind of on the flip side of that question, what's left to conquer or achieve?
I'm working on my next project. Obviously a big milestone was, that platform that I've been working on. It's kind of like an Instagram / community members type of platform that, I've been building with the custom code. And it's the first website to have customized play along piano lessons where you can play to the chords on the screen with your keyboard, like one by one. everything is like really detailed. It took so long to figure out how to make this. And I'm so fortunate to have a really great friend who's incredibly technically savvy. So I think that's been one of my hugest projects that I've seriously spent so much time really cultivating. And I've been traveling, getting exclusive interview content with, like, there's a pianist. We're releasing a video this week, Hayato Sumino from Japan. He just won the world record for most tickets sold at a solo piano concert. I believe it was 18,000 tickets. He just won this record about a month ago. World record. We just did our interview, and he talked about how he learned the piano and some, exclusive content just with different artists being included. So I've got Herbie, I've got Hayato. We're getting some other names that I don't know if I can say, but it's insane, like the people that we were able to go and interview and just pick their brain just to get some insight. We got Hiromi. Oh, goodness, like so many incredible artists. Artists from Hungary, very famous pianist in Hungary, Shukman Galaxy. He's on, it's just some incredible, incredible people. So I'm really grateful that I'm able to share this on that platform. So.
You're a well-connected man.
Oh, man. Well, I'm just so curious, I guess.
Stay curious, Jahari. Seems like it's doing good things for you, man. So as we start to wrap up here, is there anything you want to say about your performance coming to Healdsburg? Let our listeners who are all local know, what's coming up at that concert. What should they expect? Is there anything you want to tell them about the show?
Yeah, so you guys should absolutely come, because we're going to be featuring some brand new music that I've never even played live and no one's ever heard. This is unreleased, by the way. So we're going to definitely be featuring some brand new compositions. I'm so fortunate. It'll be the first show of the year for us. So you guys will really be in for a treat,
So the energy will be high.
Oh, yeah, the energy will be high. We've been itching to play. So you guys are going to get the raw, unedited version of a live performance. We will be excited to see you guys.
Right on. Well, I know I'm planning on being there, and I can't wait to meet you in person, hopefully after the show, Jahari.
Oh, man. Likewise. Yes, likewise.
Well, what a time it's been with Jahari Stampley on This Must Be the Place the last little bit. I want to say thank you so much for appearing and chatting with me. I know you're a busy guy and you're traveling all over the country right now. A note to our listeners, we also are going to have a very special giveaway happening for the Healdsburg Winter Jazz Festival that will be live on our Instagram in the upcoming days. So if you're not following us at pod_locally, you might want to be for a chance to win tickets to a fantastic show of the Jazz Festival. Jahari, thank you so much for appearing and chatting with me, and I look forward to catching you in a couple of weeks.
Oh, thank you, man. Thank you so much. And
take care, buddy.
See you soon. Take care.
Now, before we crack one open together, I thought it was only fitting to sit back and enjoy a preview of Jahari's music, perhaps getting you in the mood to see his performance next week. Please enjoy the titular track from his new album, What a Time. The interviews are done, which means I think it's time to crack one open. Interviews make me thirsty, and I want you thirsting for knowledge about some great beer, both local and not so local. Each week, I'll introduce you to a beer I find discussion-worthy and explain the nuances of what makes it fantastic in my eyes and why you should give it a try. And just to keep it on point, I'll even try to make sure the beer reflects the vibe or theme of the episode. After that amazing interview and glimpse behind the scenes at a jazz musician's life, there was one part of our conversation that stuck with me, the topic of collaboration. When you find like-minded people to collaborate with in the art world, or any world, it really brings this sense of community and what can we learn from one another into full focus. This can also be said of the beer industry, as collaboration brews are popular to band breweries together with either a common interest or two varying styles of brewing to see how each brewery can bring their knowledge to the forefront and create a blended vision for a beer. I was excited to see that two Northern California breweries, who are known for doing classic styles right, collaborated on a hoppy pilsner called Disciples of Foam. The two breweries behind it, Laughing Monk in San Francisco and Geisthaus Brewing in Sacramento. Geisthaus has recently been recognized as one of the top breweries to watch in 2026 by beverage resources like VinePair and is known for their lagers. The beer is a bubbly, bright, crisp pilsner that sits at 5.7% alcohol by volume, and while you might think about January as the time for darker, heavier beers, it's a nice way to break that up. It uses classic German hops, Huell Melon and Saphir, to bring a light citrus brightness to the taste, along with grassy and malty notes that a pilsner is known for. This is a beer that pairs perfectly with a moderately warm day filled with sunshine and an array of snacks. True to its name, it also has a beautiful foamy head that entices you in as you pour from can to glass. Go ahead and feel free to find this at your local bottle shop, potentially Willoughby's, Bottle Barn, or other local resources, and let me know what you think about it. Why not go ahead and let me know in the comments after you take a sip. A big thanks to Jahari for appearing on this week's episode of This Must Be the Place, and until next weekend, cheers from your host and craft beer concierge. This Must Be the Place is produced by our friends at Pod Locally, an audio platform helping local voices connect to their communities. Don't forget to like, subscribe, or comment on all your favorite podcast apps, and visit the show notes for more information, links, and resources. Look out for our next drop on Sunday. Until then, I'm your host, Alo Galinsky, saying have a great week.